Hey everybody, welcome to our weekend check-in video for Psych-45 Research Methods for Saturday, September 23rd. Just going to go over a few reminders and clarifications like I always do, so let's get started. First up here is remember that your feedback for part 1 of your APA-style literature review paper has been posted there, so if you haven't already, please do take a look at that feedback. You'll find it's fairly detailed depending upon the nature of the errors that you have, but it's detailed enough so you can easily remedy any of those problems. And as I'll tell you in the feedback, those problems are usually really easily remedied, so please take that feedback into consideration. I don't want to see you get dinged for the next part of the paper, the outline component too, because you're going to have to use those same references and whatnot for that as well, so make sure you clean up any problems you have there. And speaking about the outline, that will be due Wednesday, October 11th. So as I've told you in class and lecture there, it's a little ways out there, but you'll find in the dedicated APA Literature Review module, which remember is below Unit 5 on our Canvas course page. You'll scroll down past Unit 5. There at the bottom of the course page, you'll see the APA Lit Review module. Make sure you open up the instructions for Component 2. The outline at the very top, there's a little short how-to video where I walk you through with screenshots and narration and show and tell you what to do and point out all the resources available on the instructions there so you don't miss anything important to help you out. You'll also find there are lots of sample outlines this time to help you see what you need to turn in, so it's always good to have the samples so you can model your submission after that. But again, do incorporate any of that feedback I gave from part 1, because again, I don't want to see you get dinged for the same mistakes twice. And just a couple of notes here about the outline there. Make sure you incorporate all of your 10 references at least once. That is, you must cite them. That is, put an APA style citation, which is different than what you have for your references, but the citations are actually really easy normally, so do check out how to do those there. You'll see how all that looks, at least in the samples there. So make sure you cite every one of your 10 references at least once. And also be careful that you don't excessively quote your sources either. So just putting block after block of quotes is not writing and it's not really good work. So some quoting is okay, of course, but you don't want to have nothing but quotes as far as the content in your outline. And I do have a note about that in the instructions for the outline, so please be careful to avoid doing that there. You'll also find near the bottom of the instructions there a grading rubric, just like you saw for the first part of the paper. A rubric simply is a grading scheme. It's what I'm going to use to help you earn points or deduct points. It's in a file near the bottom of the instructions for the outline, so do take a look at that so you don't make any major mistakes and you end up losing a lot of points because it's something that could have been easily avoided. So please do take the time to use those resources there. Next up here, we just had our most recent discussion on Chapter 6 that you turned in last night. Most of you did a great job there on the relevance, or the wiseness, if you will, the wisdom, pardon me, of using college students for our samples in our psychological research. There's pros and cons for that, and most of you did a great job of detailing that, especially the relevance to external validity. So thanks for doing that. Next up, we have Chapter 7. As you know, we're working on that right now. When we come back next week, we are going to continue to talk about the different elements of an experiment. We just kind of finished up with all that last time. I'm going to walk you through a number of samples, a number of examples, pardon me, of experiments, and just have you, along with me, identify the parts, the IV, the DVs, what we need to control, etc. there. So we are going to be especially taking a look at manipulation and control, those two really important elements we're going to see. And as you're going to learn in class next week, those are the two ones that are especially important to define a true experiment: manipulation and control. You might remember there's two other ones, measurement and comparison. You can have measurement and comparison in all kinds of strategies, not just an experiment, but only experiments have the addition of manipulation and control. So again, make sure you're very familiar with what those things are. We are going to be taking a look, especially how you actually control confounds. Remember what those are: alternate explanations for your results in your studies. They're variables that interact with your variables under investigation, and you need to be able to control them. And that's something we haven't talked about yet in the chapter, is how you actually do that. We know we need to control these variables from becoming confounds, but how do you go about doing that? Well, you're going to learn there's some real go-to ways that we have used that are tried and true that seem to help with that. And of course we've got ways to do that, or else why would we make ourselves vulnerable to these problems, these threats to internal validity? So we will talk about that next time. We're also going to be talking about control groups, or control conditions, as they really more accurately should be referred to as and also placebos as well. Really interesting stuff around that. And so I am going to be showing you a little interesting extra video there about placebos, probably not this coming week, but next week there. And we are going to walk through a number of examples of experiments too, as I was saying. So just kind of be ready to be able to do those sorts of things. So some good stuff coming up there. All right, and we do have our discussion for Chapter 7 coming up next Friday on September 29th at 9 p.m. And the quiz, however, will be the following Monday, October 2nd. Then we're going to have our quiz on Chapter 7. And then Wednesday of that week, October 4th, we are going to have our second unit exam. You'll get an announcement about that. I'll mention it in class too, but just kind of a heads up, so it's coming along here, but not like in the immediate future next week there. All right, that's everything I wanted to say for right now. If you need anything in the meantime, reach out via email on Canvas. Otherwise, I'll see you here next time, and I will see you in class on Monday. Have a great weekend otherwise. Take care.